is your host, Leon McFarlane, and my co-host,
Ricky Pan.
And today is finally the day where we start our interview series. And who not better to interview but ourselves first, so that we really get to grips with our interview process. It's going to be an exciting series. I look forward to how far we go with this. I look forward to seeing what our guests bring to the table, because yet again, it's two guys shooting the breeze over discussions that matter. We are two people who are we really like to improve and augment those familial, those romantic, and those friendship, amicable connections. So, what is it that we can truly get out of this? So, without further ado, let me just give a brief introduction to what we're going to be discussing today. So, as we mentioned in the hiatus, we've had 5 to 6 months off, mainly because I had trips to go on, I had other things going on, and Ricky had his struggle with mental health. And on top of that, I want to really delve into the move to Denmark. So why Denmark? Why Denmark? Why did you move to Denmark? I want us to go through the network connections that were established, because I think that's important. Were there networks already established beforehand, or is it something that had to be created along the way? I also want to look at, okay, mental health. You've been here before regarding mental health with your work that you did in Thailand, which you mentioned in our first episode on the basis of men's mental health. What happened at the workplace and how did we get here? How did that fully affect and really give detriment to that mental health? What were the humps and hurdles and the successes from this trip, from you relocating? What has been learned, and what are the key nuggets of information and the key learning points that you could pass on to our audience? Because I think it's such an exciting opportunity to be able to do this and do it on our platform. So without further ado, Rix, why is it that you moved to Denmark? You were established here working for another company, and then you shifted over to Denmark. What was the allure? Why? What was the reasoning? Because Denmark, lovely country, as we both been there. I went there first time this year. What is it what really enticed you to move over to move over there?
Yeah, it's a great question to start off with. I just want to have a little disclaimer for our listeners. This is going to be very personal for me, and it's going to be sort of like an emotional roller coaster. So, you can have your ups and downs. So, listeners, just prepare yourself, strap in, and kind of enjoy the ride. But why I moved to Denmark? Well, before I moved here, I was here 4 times before, and the first two occasions were due to work. On that first trip, as soon as I landed in Denmark, I kind of felt a piece of tranquility and peace with this country. Compared to the hustle bustle of London, everything seemed a bit more quieter, peaceful. There wasn't like that mad rush to get to a place very quickly. Everyone's more chilled and relaxed. So that kind of spoke to me after living in London my whole life. And you know how it is, especially when you work in the city, you're on the tube every single day. You're going to the rat races.
That's my life now.
Yeah, exactly. Going to the rat races, so to speak. It got to a point where I just kind of felt like I deep down I needed a change, right? And that's some of the things you can't tangibly explain. It's just something you just feel, and deep down in your gut feeling that okay, I've been here in London, born here, raised here for almost 30 odd years, and last November when I came to Denmark for a holiday, an opportunity came up with a new company to relocate here and kind of build a career here. And after, speaking to my friends, such as yourself, my family, I decided to take the plunge, go out of my comfort zone, so to speak, and move here. And I think it's, for anyone that's listening, expats to relocate before to another country, it can be quite hard, leaving behind a life where you have stability and you have a daily routine already developed and fixed in, kind of uproot your life and move to a new country, start over again. It's something that's not easy.
Yeah. So with that, I've got a question for you. So you've uprooted your life previously with Thailand, as I mentioned in our introduction.
Yeah.
What would you say? Would you say that this time was more difficult? What were the differences between that time in your life, being, I believe you were 26, 27,
Yeah.
and this time in your life now, uprooting and moving? Because I believe Thailand, well, I've been to Thailand as well. Thailand is a very, very, very different culture to Denmark, Copenhagen. So yeah, what were the contrasts? What were the differences, and what was similar?
Thailand, great country. Don't think I could ever go back there. I think I've committed too many cardinal sins there, but
Oh dear, yeah.
that's
Let's
for
let's
that's
that's for
for
another
that's for another
episode.
time. That's for another time. Great question. I think
Mhm.
with Thailand, I knew there was an expiry date on that, so I knew I
Okay.
was going to return
Mm.
back to the
Hmm.
UK. Beautiful country, great people, um, good weather for the most part. But then when you live in Thailand, you also have what we call monsoon rain, and that
Hmm.
means it doesn't stop raining for a good couple of days. But yeah, there was always kind of an expiry date, and it was always going to be a year. So I
Hmm.
kind of knew I was going back to the UK. Moving here, I didn't have that mentality. I didn't know how long I was going to stay or how long I wanted to stay in Denmark.
Hmm.
So it was a completely different ball game in that regard, and the mindset was different as well. I think, in, I think especially when you know that something's only going to last for a limited period of time,
Hmm.
you're already kind of planning, okay, what am I going to do when I return there? So that was the kind of main difference.
And I guess what further cements that you were comfortable. Well, when I say comfortable, not comfortable because obviously it's out your comfort zone. I think what
Yeah,
further cements that it was your home place, and I think what further cements that people deemed it as your next place of residence is that you had visitors with Denmark and Copenhagen.
yeah,
Now, fair enough, in terms of Thailand, it's a long further distance away, but you had people who actually would come over and
yeah,
see you in your new habitat essentially, which is
yeah,
always great to see. So I guess with that, because then I'm essentially talking about networks and connections with your current friends and current family.
yeah.
What was it like to move over to Denmark, leaving your friends and family that you would see on a constant basis, regardless of it being the rat race or not? And did you already have a network established in
Mm,
Copenhagen?
yeah.
Like, talk to me a little bit about that and how that's helped you through that move, because I think it's so important that when it comes to things like this, yeah, again, I've never relocated. London's my home, and it always will be my home.
Yeah.
You can hold me, don't hold me to that, audience, because there may be an opportunity in the US or something later on down the line with my line of work, but yeah, in terms of that, what networks did you have already established in Denmark, and how did that help you through, I would assume, the loneliness that comes with relocating and just a complete reconfiguration of your life?
Yeah. Well, I already have built a established kind of network of friends here,
Mm.
and funny enough, they were all from um, you know the same company we were working in, where I was there
Mhm.
for almost 3.5 years. So I already knew people here. I had friends here. Um, I wouldn't say I had loads of close friends here.
Mm.
I think some took time to kind of build and develop whilst living here. Um, there was one person that I'm very close to, which I've discussed with you about plenty of times.
Mhm.
So I already kind of had that connection here, but yeah, I mean, it was very difficult. I'm not going to lie. I think
Mm.
on our podcast we promote transparency and honesty and accountability.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hmm.
segue back into our previous episode, so check that out if you haven't already. It was very hard, and especially leaving my immediate family there and leaving
Mm.
my very good friends such as yourself.
Mm.
Um, it, it, it wasn't an easy decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially my immediate family, because I'm from a kind of Oriental kind of background and culture. We're always taught to have strong family values and always stay together. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
when I first told my mum, she was like, "Well, why the hell you want to move there? Just, stay here." And you know what mom's like. Doesn't matter if you're, 20, 30, 40, 50.
Yes, that's true.
Mom's always going to be mum, and she was going to have that protective nature about her. And when
Mm-hmm.
her boy's leaving the nest, so to speak, she gets very she doesn't take it well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was difficult conversation I had to have with her. But I think when she saw that this is what I really wanted, and also speaking to my grandma, who I love to bits, and someone who
Mm-hmm.
I can rely on to, to go to anything related to professional, personal issues. She supported the move as
Mm-hmm.
well, and yeah, now here I am.
Yeah, it's great to hear you have a good support network back at home, which, yeah, again, it will always continue because you're loved, So it's one of those things. So, in terms of the next part, then, so you relocated, you started the new job.
Yeah,
Now, the new job was a role that essentially was a step above what you already experienced.
yeah,
Tell us a little bit about that. Obviously, we don't need to name the company because we're just talking about the experiences here.
yeah.
But how did you feel going into a new role where the challenges are that much higher? You've just relocated. There's so many new changes at once. Yeah, tell us a bit about that because I'm intrigued because I'm sure I'm learning new stuff now as we're
Mm,
talking. So yeah, tell me and the audience about that.
yeah. So for those that know me personally, I've been in sales for almost 6, 7 years now.
Mhm.
And this new role, as you mentioned, was a step up from my previous role as an account executive. This new role was head of sales development, and that actually included a bit more managerial and strategic responsibilities. So that included building up like a sales function effectively from ground zero,
Mhm.
hiring, managing, and mentoring, and building a team there, uh, and also developing kind of strategies and working more closely with C-level
Mhm.
people at the company. And yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was a mixture of excitement and a bit of
Mhm.
fear, right? Because
Of
when
course.
you go into a new role and something you've never done before, you're always going to have that initial sense of excitement, but also fear, because you want to make
Mm.
sure that you want to give all to this new role, and you want to make sure you want to do everything you can to kind of succeed. So there was a kind of a mixture of emotions when I took on that role.
Mhm. And then for okay, mixtures of fear and excitement. Did you have anyone that was there to, whether this within the company or not, to mentor you and help you navigate these new hurdles, essentially?
Yeah, I think from a to be honest and transparent, from a professional standpoint, I didn't think I had uh, that mentor
Mm-hmm.
directly because I was working with the CMO
Mm.
who's great. It's a great boss, but they've never really done direct sales before, right? So I think I
Okay, so it's
needed,
completely fresh.
yeah, so I needed some of
Mm-hmm.
a more of a direct mentor. But he was great in terms of being there for me, both like mentally checking in on me. So, I have nothing but great things to say about that guy. It's just that I feel like I needed a more kind of direct mentorship when it comes to
Mm.
maybe sales strategy, sales practices, and kind of helping building the sales function.
Okay. So, okay, I get that in terms from a professional standpoint. Is there anyone in your life who has been at that level that you could talk to regarding navigating such a new period in your career? And what did you reach out to any, let's say, online groups regarding this new line of work or this new level of work, I should say?
yeah, a few of my ex-bosses, you know, have made it to directorship level,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of VP levels there as well at other companies, and I'm gonna hold my hands up and say no, I didn't reach out to them. Maybe that's something
Mm-hmm.
I should have done.
Mm-hmm.
I totally have all my hands up, and I think by me not reaching out to them, it was putting me at a kind of a disadvantage there, in terms of how to navigate my way through the new role. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's something I have to kind of reflect on, and it's something I'm going to take forward with me. I have a very close friend of mine. She don't think I want to name her. I don't think she would like being named. We just call her we just call her B. Okay. So she
Mm-hmm.
currently works at my old company. And she's high up in that regard, and
Mm-hmm.
she's someone I can talk to when it comes to kind of more managing leadership and kind of strategy. And I always go to her, if I need any particular piece of advice on that. So
Yes.
she's someone I have in my life that I'm grateful
Mm-hmm. Excellent, excellent. And yet again, we love the accountability and we love shout outs on this channel. When it comes to the interview section, there's going to be loads of shout outs. So yeah, I hope those people who do listen and know who they're well, I know that it's them that's being referred to. I hope that they enjoy listening to this content. So, Rix, the next question I'm going to ask, right? So, you've jumped into this new role. The confidence is high because it's the next level up.
for.
You're
Yeah,
excited, yes,
yeah,
fearful because obviously what's life with a little bit of fear and doing something that's in the unknown and doing
yeah,
something that's uncomfortable because that's how we grow.
yeah,
You're there for 3 to 4 months, and then you get the the knowledge and the information that you're either going to be made redundant or you're going to be let go. If you clarify for me and the audience, what exactly happened with that week? Because I do remember it quite clearly. I was on my way to Montenegro. I think I literally landed in Montenegro. I got a missed call
yeah,
from this guy, which
yeah,
normally I don't get a missed call from him when he knows that I'm going to be busy or knows that I'm going to be dealing with certain things.
yeah,
I'll be accountable with this. I looked at the missed call and I'm like, let's leave this for another day or two.
yeah,
Now the thing is, as it was so uncharacteristic, I should have, as a friend, looked at this and been like, okay, you know what? Let me get back to you as soon as possible, but I didn't. And obviously, the news broke out that something happened at work, and I could tell. Normally, because I've known this guy for about 20 years. I've known Ricky for about 20 years. I can generally tell when the mood is up and when the mood is down, and when the mental health is down. There's distinct differences. So, could you talk to us about what happened during that week? Was it redundancy? Was it let go? What exactly happened with the company and what happened to your role? And obviously, take your time with this one because this is where, as we said, ladies, gents, audience, it's a roller coaster of emotions here. So let's take the time and delve through in a bit step by step nature. What is it? What exactly happened on that week, and then what happened the week after?
yeah. I mean, just reflecting back,
Yeah,
it's gonna
it's going
be
to be
it's
a
gonna be
hard
a
one to
bit.
reflect on, but
Yeah,
we're going to share the floor and we're going to be accountable and be transparent. And obviously, if you need to have those little breaks, by all means,
yeah.
I've got you, bro.
So it was around May time. We had
Mm-hmm.
just come back from a company offsite, where everyone in the company, we went up to a place uh, in Denmark, where for next 2 3 days everyone was together. We had workshops, team building activities, and really just getting to know people from the company. People flew over from Germany and other countries, to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So everything was good there. And then I think on a couple of days later, me and the CSO, who was recently joined the company, we had we started having chats and stuff, and I think there was one day he just brought me into the room and he just said, "Look, rookie, it's not good news.
Mm.
We're going to have to let you and your team go."
Mm.
And he said it's not based on your performance, your team performance. It's just that I feel like we need to streamline operations, and and so your role will effectively be made redundant. And I remember I got the letter on that same day, had to hand in the keys, and I had to leave the office pretty much right
Wow.
away. And that was tough. And there's a good friend of mine who still works there, which I'll give him a shout out to later on.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it so distinctly as I was walking down the stairs. I'm not gonna lie, tears were starting to flow a little bit,
Mm.
and I'm always going to appreciate what it is. He literally ran down the stairs to
Mm-hmm.
talk to me, and we had a little, walk towards the metro station as well. And then as soon as I got in, man, I was in I was in a wreck. I had so many negative emotions coming at me at once.
Mm-hmm.
Sad, angry, pissed off, guilty, disappointed.
Yeah.
Um, and that day didn't eat dinner, and for the next couple of days, I don't think I ever told you I didn't eat anything. I was stuck in bed for
Mm.
the next couple of days,
Mm-hmm.
just feeling really shit. Um,
Yeah.
to be honest, and I was kind of in a very kind of dark and kind of desolate place mentally. And for anyone who's kind of been through being made redundant or being fired, um, I'm sure you kind of relate to that kind of instant reaction. Um, so yeah, it wasn't a good time.
Yeah. Sorry to hear, bro, because I can hear from the tone in your voice that it was a very, very well, the initial part, because I don't, for me and for the audience to understand, those 2 weeks, my mind was fully on Montenegro, getting my family over there. We had a cousin's wedding. So my mind wasn't thinking of what was going on with Rix, because the last thing that I would have heard from him was, "Oh, the job's going well. We would have our weekly check-ins. We'll be recording bits and pieces." I think by then the recording schedule probably had about 2, 3 weeks off. So in terms of the check-ins, they weren't as frequent as they should have been, which I'll take full accountability for that part. And my mind wasn't on, okay, this is potentially what has happened. So when I did eventually get in contact with Ricky, I think probably towards the end of that Montenegro trip, and asked, "Oh, what's up?" and then heard about the redundancy,
Yeah,
I was like, "We need to talk now, because you know it's heavy, especially if you've relocated, all the emotions into relocating and really, really going for your dream and going for what you believe in, taking a new role at work, and then essentially to have your hopes dashed in that particular moment." And the key words that you stated about how you felt during that time, the guilt, the failure, or feeling like a failure, just being completely upset, it's obviously really, really hard to hear. But yeah, it's to the audience. It's one of those things where when these times do happen in life, you need to have that connection network, whether it's friends, family, loved ones, to really, really garner through, because life does always come with these humps, hurdles, which then can potentially lead to successes. So, yeah, thanks for sharing that with us, Rix. So, after that, what happened next? I'm not going to use the term navigate, but what was the pathway that you had to go through, or what was the pathway that you took to then lead to the next steps? Because I know that you got a job afterwards. We're going to
yeah,
focus on the space in between the redundancy and that second job. What were your
yeah,
thoughts and feelings? Because there was about 2, 3 months between that. You can
yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah.
What did you
So
do between that time to fix your mindset? Yeah, again, we're not expecting that to happen immediately, But to fix that mindset, to to literally drawing from the connections that you do have. I know you had quite a few people visiting you during that time
Yeah.
just to see how you are. And obviously, it's been so difficult to even explain it to the friends and the family who were coming to visit you because, yeah, it's a down in the dump situation. But yeah, what did you do between those two time points?
I think when you're in a dark place and
Hmm.
you want to get out of it, you can't do it alone. You can't do
Yeah.
it by yourself. There are a couple of things that got me out of kind of this dark place, right? And number one, it was talking to people, um,
Hmm.
talking to you about the situation, talking to my friends there as well, about it was something that really helped, and it's something I kind of needed. Because
Hmm.
when you're and we talked about it in the very first episode of mental health.
Hmm.
You can never do it alone, and a
Hmm.
problem shared is a problem halved, right? So it's
Yes, I remember that
definitely,
quote from you. Mm.
yeah, really talking to my friends that began to get me out of the funk a little bit. And the thing is, yes, I did have that, communication channel with most of my close friends, but they were based in the UK, right?
Mm. So you had
It's
that
only,
distance.
yeah, I still kind of felt distance, even when talking to my friends over in the UK. And it's just not the same when talking to someone in real life.
Hmm.
Um, and there are kind of four people here that I'm going to give a shout out to now who really, really helped me get out of the funk. And they're my core network here. Um, so the first person I want to give a shout out, I'm going to use names here.
Yeah, feel free.
Um, so first person is probably the sweetest, nicest, and kindest girl you ever meet. Her name is Maria, and just speaking to her, spending time with her, hanging out with her, that really, really helped a lot. Because she just has a very calming presence about her,
Hmm.
and that was, I needed that. So I kind of needed someone to, I can talk to, open up to, have that calming presence about. So I'm just so grateful to have her in my life.
Hmm.
Second person is you've met before, is what I regard a very good friend of mine here. His name's Anton.
Hmm.
He is one of the nicest, realist, and honest guys you can ever meet.
Hmm.
And to be fair, my kind of friendship with him, it kind of really grew and developed when I moved here. So we were,
Hmm.
we knew each other from, our old workplace and stuff, and we talked sometimes, but we never really hung out, right?
Hmm.
And it wasn't until I moved here we started to hang out more. I mean, we're both very passionate about football, and
Hmm.
he also helped. He was like, look, you know, he started inviting me out to play football as well, which I haven't done for the past what, maybe 6, 7 years, maybe even a decade. I can't keep track of it basically.
Hmm.
But yeah, just going to those football matches, hang out with him, talking to him, again, that kind of helped with my mental state as well. Being able to go to him, talk to him, and just play football and take part in the physical activity, which again is very important
Yes.
for mental health as well.
Hmm.
It's a welcome distraction. So yeah, grateful to that guy as well.
A
Third
welcome
person,
distraction, but also a good release. So just to
yeah,
put that in there. Hmm.
third person is Shania. Now she is again such a lovely and sweet girl. Now she's in her early 20s, but she has the mentality and the soul of a grandma. I always like to say to her, and it's so weird that someone that young can
Hmm.
have really deep and thoughtful opinions, and insights into everything. And I remember one conversation I had with her, which I still remember. She was like, "You're being too hard on yourself.
Hmm.
the reason why you felt this guilt was that you felt you let your team down. Because it wasn't only me that got let go, it was my team that got let go.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And she put it into perspective, but you got to ask yourself, did you do the best you can? When she put it that way, I was like, yeah, I did. Then you have nothing to feel guilty about. So again, grateful to her for being there for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the last person, last but not least, is Dom, and he was actually the guy that literally was running down the stairs as soon as I had to exit the office on that day. And from the start, he's been such a great help. Not just being, there for chats and stuff, but also, kind of helping with kind of more the logistics of moving here in terms of,
Mm-hmm.
like applying for like visas and stuff, giving me advice. And again, I'm so grateful for everything he's done for me. And, these four people have been kind of the shining lights and beacons
Mm.
and really helped me to get out the funk. I also want to give a shout out to the St. George's crew. I think you guys were here. Was it August or July?
So that would have been. That's a very good question, actually. I think it was It was the end of July.
Yeah.
End of July.
Big shout out and love to the St. George's crew. Obviously, you. Screw it, I'm just going to name the names. You,
Why
you,
not?
you, Ephraim, Barbika, Mai, James, Ash, and also Gab's there as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you guys came in again, that we had so much great fun and great conversations, and it was just great to catch up with people. So again, that caused me to get out the funk as well.
Good.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then once I got out of the funk, I had to make a decision. I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
now I could go back to the UK because I know I can just always just go back with my family, go back to my family, start over again and stuff. But during that time period, I analyzed everything, and for me, it wasn't just about professional; it was about personal, right?
Yes.
And the thing is, with Denmark, the first 3 or 4 months were very hard. I'm not gonna lie, I was
Mm-hmm.
homesick like crazy,
Mm-hmm.
missing everyone, and when you're living by yourself, it can be quite hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you get over that initial homesickness over the first initial couple of months, it came to a point where I remember I was just biking one day, and yeah, now I bike, which I didn't before in London. Um,
Yeah, you don't want to cycle on London roads unless you
oh
have
no,
a designated route.
exactly. It came to a point where okay, I can actually see myself building my life here. And
Mm.
when I say building my life, not just from a professional standpoint, but from a personal standpoint there as well, where
Yes.
eventually starting a family, raising them here, and that's when I kind of made the decision. Look, I'm going to see what else is out there on the job market. I know I'm going to be at disadvantage because when I started applying for jobs, most of them required you to speak Danish.
Yep.
So I kind of knew I
It's
was facing
expected.
uphill battle in some of these roles. But
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try see what's out there, send over my applications, go for interviews, in that time.
Mm-hmm. So I've got a question for you. Well, question slash a statement. So
Yeah,
you essentially flipped a poignant moment in your life to essentially making a difficult decision because you already knew that this was your place of residence. This is where you want to spend your future. I'm just gonna cycle back a bit. First of all, shout out to those four friends who are
yeah,
based in Denmark who looked after my friend when he was in a really, really difficult time. I think I've met two or possibly one out of the four. The other three, I look forward to actually meeting you as well when it
yep,
comes to my next trip to Denmark. And then, so that's the statement. And then the question: with the friends, obviously, I know it's include myself, but as we're talking on this podcast, we're talking on this episode, I don't have to include myself. What did it mean to you to have friends come over from the UK to come and see you in your time of need? Did that hold any extra value? Did that make you feel any different type of way? Did that consolidate that friendship even further with those who came over? Because I know there were a few individuals who didn't know the situation, but
Yeah.
obviously when you discussed that situation with them, it was all positive vibes. Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit more about that before we delve into your future and just really really resonating with Denmark after that situation.
Yeah. Honestly, it meant the world to me that you guys came over. Not obviously not everyone knew about my situation
Mm-hmm.
within that group. I mean, you did, obviously, but just everyone as a collective flying over to Denmark, spending time with me, going to these museums, going on those, touristy bus tour things,
Mm-hmm.
eating together, having jokes, having a laugh, recapping on stories. I don't think I could. There's not enough words to describe. Sorry, I'm just getting a bit emotional.
Nah, so yeah, again, man,
I,
we're gonna
I
take our
don't
time with this interview.
I don't think there's any words that will 100% encapsulate um, my sense of gratitude
Mm-hmm.
and my sense of just my overall gratitude and thanking everyone for coming here. It meant so much to me
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do that, and it definitely consolidated the friendship. I thought it brought all of us, together in
Mm-hmm.
a much stronger bond. So, like I said, I have nothing but love for the St. George's crew, and that's something I'm always going to remember deep down here. So, once again, guys, love you all. Thank you so much.
And I'm very sure they all be listening. So, that's definitely an amazing thing, and it's kind words. And yet again, as you already know, you are supported in this network that you still have in the UK. And when it comes to getting to Denmark anyway, it's less than an hour. It's an hour. No, hold on, it's not less than an hour. It's about an hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half flight. So
Yeah, yeah,
there's a lot of London commutes that are even longer than that. So we always will be here for you to actually see you in person as well, and obviously vice versa if you would need to come back home. So we've gone through quite a few things during this episode. So the next thing I wanted to ask, because you mentioned at the beginning of the episode that Denmark is what resonates with you. You've had the situation of redundancy and how that further reinforced your want to live and reside in Denmark, Copenhagen.
mm,
What what is it? Well, you've already stated what it is that really resonates with you, but
mm,
with this situation, does it make you want it even more? That's probably the question I want to ask. Does it make you want it even more? And what steps are you going to put in place now to really reinforce and really make sure that this dream, which already has become a reality,
yeah,
make it really, really happen for you? Because I know obviously we got the next step in terms of the story as well,
yeah,
where you had another role.
yeah,
Tell us a little bit about that and now what the steps emotionally, what this mental health journey has done for you.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think this experience between the time I got made redundant and the time I started a new job, um, it, it taught me that yes, this is what I really wanted because I was going back and forth on this. Now, okay, do I move back? Do I stay here?
Mm-hmm.
And after making that decision and going through with it, and after reflecting upon that, yeah, it Denmark, it's something I want to live in. I want to live in for a long time. I can see myself here for a long time. And as you said, it kind of reinforced my decision to kind of stay here and kind of really cement that. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, that answers the question. I'll definitely say so, because what I'm seeing is, so what I've noticed from just reading facial expression, body language. No, I'm not a psychoanalyst. I straight up audience. I'm not qualified in terms that. I leave that to other people. But you seem a lot more happier and content with
Oh,
your life in Denmark at this current moment. 'Cause I know a new position,
yeah.
and I think what my question is probably going to ask: would you be at this point of contentment with Denmark if this situation did not happen? If it, let's say, it was all plain sailing, do you feel that you would be more consolidated in your thoughts regarding Denmark? Do you think that this is something that had to happen? What you considered to yourself as failure, and what you considered to yourself as a letdown for your team when the redundancy happened, were these the key ingredients that have led you to where you are today? And what happens next? Hmm. I know very
Um,
convoluted questions, but I'm just, as we're just shooting the breeze here, and it's
yeah,
I find it interesting because it's not a conversation I've actually had with you. This is all fresh for me too.
I feel like yes, I needed to have that experience of uncertainty and instability.
Mm,
I think it would if it was just plain sailing, I would have been so happy. I would just, in a way, I would have coasted through kind of my first year here at Denmark without really thinking about it more kind of long term, right? Just
mhm,
just take just take the first 12 months as it is, see how you feel, and then you know then make a decision after that. So yes, I think I needed to go through this to consolidate um, my decision to want to stay here long term.
mhm,
And there's plenty of people. I've always said that um, failure is one of the biggest lessons you can have, right? And it's only through failure that sometimes that's the only way you ever learn, um,
yes.
and you can ever grow and develop. So
Mhm,
I definitely think I needed to go through that
mhm,
unhappy, emotional, and very discomforting experience
mhm,
to get to where my mind is today.
mhm,
And you mentioned before, I'm back on the job market, and I just want to give a bit of context to that. So,
mhm,
I've gone through the interview process, came down to two companies where I had to pick between the two essentially. So I went with company A, and everyone there is, so nice and lovely. And it was a head of sales role. Um, and again, that's also kind of a, step up and a new challenge. And, again, I was excited, again, a little bit fearful, to be expected when you start anything new. And, I think for the first 2 weeks, I think was going well. I was excited.
mhm.
I had the opportunity to bring my own ideas, develop my own strategy in how to really build the go-to market strategy for this specific product.
Yep.
Um, but then it just came to a point where I just felt it wasn't the right fit. I didn't think I could work effectively with my boss there, and it was kind of a mutual decision because I knew deep down I wasn't going to be happy.
Mhm,
Um, so yeah, it was a mutual decision, and then we parted ways.
mhm. And then for that to happen, because this would have been, I guess you would say, the second time,
Yeah,
as you've already, it's kind of preempting what obviously we have no idea what would have happened to the company, and if the streamlining process would happen again.
yeah,
But it was, you had already evolved enough to understand, okay, this is a position where I'm not going to have as much freedom, I'm assuming, freedom that I need to fulfill the role the way how I need to fulfill it.
Yeah.
So you took the difficult but important step to walk away and then go back on the market again, which takes immense amount of strength to
Yeah.
do. Because yeah, again, I remember with this one, because this would have been last month, I
Yeah.
believe, or the month before, you
Yeah.
called me up and I was like, Ricky, what the hell happened now? Sort of
Yeah.
thing. But it does take some balls to be able to, well, I say balls. Let's recorrect that. This is a child friendly episode. It takes some courage to be able to say that this is not going to work for me. I want to take a different route. Yes, I know that it's a period of instability, but I'm going to get back on the job market again and find a role that is going to be a bit more suited for me.
Yeah.
So with that, the difference is, 'cause I know you're going to probably delve a bit more into the story.
Yeah.
The difference with that one and with that, you stepping away from it, is that you decided this time around, your actual persona, you weren't down at all this time around. This time around, you seem to have bounced back a lot quicker. So a rubber band loses elasticity. You kind
Yeah.
of became an inverse rubber band where you seem a lot more resilient to that change, which I think is very, very important when it does come to failure and big striking changes in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, if you go back to the Refining the Connection series of overcoming comfort and the fear of failure and looking into that, you essentially overcome the fear of failure. And now
Yeah.
it's, you know what, I will succeed in this period of time that I have here because I made a decision that this is where I want to place my roots down,
Yeah.
which I think is really, really, really important. So with the search now, I know you've got a specific way of dealing with your life now that you're searching for this new role. How are the habits different from that period of time beforehand between the two posts or between the two roles and now? Because I think I remember you saying something about how you have a routine now to at
Mm.
least combat that mental health detriment that you had before. Something about going to the library. Let's hear a bit more about that and how you got the structures in your life to overcome this feeling of sadness, the loneliness, and the mental health.
Yeah. I mean, I remember that conversation when I called you, and you're right. This time it felt different. It kind of felt like
Mm.
a sense of um, relief
Yeah.
in that way. And don't get me wrong, it's still doesn't feel good
Mm.
leaving a job. So for the first maybe day or so, yeah, well, I did have some negative emotions, but I wasn't in a rut compared to the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that is taking kind of the experiences and lessons that I learned from that first time, and then using it this time around to kind of have a more positive mindset and to keep myself busy. So yeah, I mean, since then I've been, you know, looking for jobs, applying, having great calls with external recruiters there as well, who are also pitching my CV to companies. So I'm very grateful for that. And yeah, I have a daily routine now where the library for my apartment's only 3 minute bike ride.
Mm-hmm.
So I go there in the morning, go on LinkedIn and other kind of online job boards, look for roles which interest me
Mm-hmm.
and which I know I can do, write my CV, send them out, and then I do that for a good 3 or 4 hours, and then take a break, and then in the
Mm-hmm.
afternoon, what I've started to do is I've started to kind of create what I call a personal sales playbook for me. So I follow
Mm,
all
that sounds
these kind
interesting.
of sales leaders on LinkedIn or newsletters, and they always give useful, digestible tips,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be how to nail a cold call, or how to nail your kind of your demo practices and kind of refine them. So I've actually started to put all of that information into a document, which is at the moment 50 pages.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling it's probably going to end up in maybe hundred something odd pages there. But again, it's a way of keeping myself busy, but also refining my skills, but also acquiring new skills as well. Like looking at it from a different perspective. There's not one 100% way to run a demo or sales demo, for example.
No, not at
There
all.
are other questions you can ask, or put a different perspective on it. So it's basically amalgamating all that information in there into documents, keeping myself busy. So it we had this conversation before we went live. Is that I still treat it, I'm going to a normal work day, right?
Yeah, which is
Start
important.
in the morning and then finish at 4 or 5, and then the night time just use to chill, relax, hanging out with friends as always. Speaking to my core 4 people here. Um, Love trying out new recipes and stuff. Love
Hmm.
cooking, and also just jumping back on this podcast, which we're um, doing right now. So that's what I've been up to keep myself busy.
Yeah, and best believe, audience, this is probably the first time where I've said we're doing a 9:30 a.m. recording on a Saturday as of this
Yeah,
recording, and I've had Ricky be really really eager at 9 o'clock messaging me. Is 9:30 still okay? So
yeah,
that shows big change. just putting it out there, but it's a change that we love to see because then obviously it means the knock-on effect is consistency. And that's consistency with all different routes within your life and obviously my life as well. Because in terms of the podcast, it means that we're having more frequent conversations about how we want to push this forward. We are collaborating more and shooting the breeze more in the background as well as in the foreground, which is what you're seeing right now in terms of this recording. So, no, the in terms of the story, it has been great. It's been amazing. I'm happy that your mental health has improved so much and that this year has essentially been it's been very rich in terms of personal growth and development. So it's amazing to see, and I think it's an incredible story for our listeners to hear. It clearly states why the hiatus happened. It clearly states where we were then, where we are now, where you are now, and yeah, I look forward to opening up and explaining just more. And I'm sure the audience is going to be happy to hear more about your story as well. So, leading to conclude this episode or this interview, our inaugural interview episode, we really talked about what's been learned. If you can sum up a few points for our audience and listeners to take home, what would you say? And if you want to end it with a nice quote, feel free as well, because there must be a quote that sums up all of this. What is it that kept you going? So, yeah, sum up if you can sum up the points that you've taken
yeah,
from this learning experience.
yeah. Well, um, it has been kind of been therapy actually.
Mm,
This episode personally for me, just having to go back and kind of relive the kind of emotions and feelings at that time. Um, I think the biggest takeaway from this is for those who've ever had to move to a new country or been made redundant or struggling with their own mental health, the biggest thing to remember is you can't get out of it or you can't push through it by yourself.
mm,
You've got to have a strong core support network, whether that be through family or friends, and don't be ashamed or don't be scared to reach out to those people
mm,
and share your problem or what you're feeling with them. The worst thing you could do is bottle it up by yourself and think that you're going to solve this entirely by yourself. There's a reason they're your friends and family, and it's not for you should never let your ego get in the way and just say, look, you know, I lost my job or I'm feeling really shit or my mental health is not in a good space right now. Don't feel like you're ever going to be a burden onto others. Um, so always take the courage and take that next step to reach out to to your network. And yeah, as we always do, as usual, we will finish with a quote. And this is from one of the greatest fictional characters ever written. And most listeners will probably know when I mention the name Rocky. And this movie called Rocky Balboa, which I think it's the sixth one in the series. Very highly recommended. If you haven't checked it out, go watch it.
Yep,
But
that sounds like you're talking to me.
yeah, there's this one scene with his son. And just to give you a bit of context, so basically Rocky, he hasn't fought in a good number of years. He's getting old. He wants to come out of retirement to prove something to himself and to his son. So the son is against Rocky going back into the ring because he feel like if Rocky fails, it's going to bring shame to him personally. And his son always had a chip on his shoulders saying that the only reason I'm getting somewhere is because of the name. Because everyone knows Rocky. He was a world champion and he didn't believe in himself. And this quote really, really resonated with me. So Rocky's explaining to his son that basically you're putting all the kind of bad things or failures that are happening in your life is putting the blame because of the name. Like there's a big shadow. But then Rocky says, no one's going to hit harder than life. It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much punishment you can take and keep moving forward. And that's how winning is done. And to this day, I watch that every single morning. Before I do anything else, I go on YouTube and I watch that specific clip. And it really resonates. It really resonates with just about anyone. And it's that in life you're going to have your ups and downs, but you can wallow and you can feel sorry for yourself, but it's time to get back up. So that's something I want to kind of leave the listeners with. And also for anyone that had a tough time relocating with mental health in general, or just being made redundant, feel free to reach out to us. We're on Instagram, Purpose Hangtime, but you can also send a message to our personal Instagram. So mine is Kung Fu _Panda. So it's PANGDA. So it's a play of my last name. And then Leon, if you wanna give out your Insta as well.
Yeah, in terms of my personal, it's LRM_visions. I don't use it much, but feel free if you feel that today's episode has touched you in a specific way, you can resonate with it, or you want to learn more, feel free to get in contact via Instagram or via our LinkedIn or our specific LinkedIn platforms as well. Because I'm sure in terms of that aspect, we're generally a lot more active on there. But yet we are on both. So it will be definitely great to have a conversation. And I'm sure Ricky will be very, very happy to have conversations and further conversations regarding the mental health aspect of relocating, as well as essentially tackling loneliness and being able to be accountable and be open with those when it comes to dealing with difficult situations. So without further ado, that was the first interview episode. So rich nuggets of information. Thank you, Rix, for taking us through that. I've learned some new things, new stuff about your routine. I now know I need to watch a few more Rocky Balboa videos and watch more films, because I think I've only watched one, which is not good. So yeah, if I want to get some more inspiration, that's what I need to do. And I think that's the same thing we should say to our audience as well. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Two guys shooting the breeze, improving our connections. Take care all. Until next time.